Hey guys, what's up? I thought today I'd give you a little look at an unfunctioning MG42 bolt and sort of show you what goes into it, the work that's done into it and whatnot. So first I'll disassemble this. As you can see, there are no rollers in these because they do remove them to prevent locking into the breech. Yeah, and the front, you can see there. This is the extractor, and the front there where the firing pin would protrude out to strike the primer has been welded over, but the ejector is still intact. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it just sort of pops out the front there. First we'll disassemble this. Just try not to get oil all over my hands, that's all. You have to oil these. I'll explain all these parts in a minute. Just get it apart first. Slippery. So there's all the pieces of the bolt. I mean, you can detach the rest of it. This is the cam which rides on top of the feed arm, which manipulates the belt, of course, with the feed paws. This is your main assembly anyway. It's vastly hollow. They don't really modify any of this, to be honest. I'm not sure if that cut is there normally, but I don't really see why it wouldn't be. So yeah, as you can see on the bottom, that's just the regular serial number, but this is where the charging handle, or because it's an L shape, works a similar principle to the way the M16 charging handle works, where once you lock it back, the bolt's locked back, you can move the charging handle freely. So this is what it pulls on to start with. It hooks over this part, pulls it, locks it, then you can move it freely. Rest of it, you got what remains of the firing pin here. Now normally this would protrude out a little further. It's filed off there. Just thought I'd give you a look at this because there's not really many videos that actually show the bolt anyway, never mind an actual sort of non-functioning bolt. This is what holds the firing pin, and the way you know how to put it back in, of course, is you'll see a little cutout, like a semicircular cutout at the bottom, which matches that. So you just slide that back in. You obviously put the firing pin back in first, but that's how that functions. So that can move freely inside the bolt assembly, no problem. This is the striker sleeve. This is responsible for normally pushing the rollers outwards when it locks into battery. What you have here, this is an early war type bolt catch. Now they introduced these about 1943, 1944 because they found that there was a problem with the bolt bouncing out of battery due to the harmonics. So this was to try and absorb it. It's a bit like a pogo stick. So obviously when this thing's moving, it's impacting the breech area about 20 times per second when it's firing 1200 to 1500 rounds per minute, or 25 rounds per second more. So this sort of helps absorb a lot of the force inside. Seeing as the bolt, especially the light bolt, about 1500 rounds per minute, often had problems with coming apart due to stress. So this sort of helped to resolve that a little bit. The 1200 rounds per minute wasn't quite as stressful, obviously, because it is slightly less. And with the medium weight bolt, which will give you about 1200 rounds per minute, they generally always fitted these. Now they recommend that if you get a working MG42 that does not have one of these bolt catchers, they recommend you get one of these bolt catchers just to make things safer for you. This is of course the ejector. The way this works is I'll put it back in. I think I showed you earlier, but I'll show you again. You can see that this sort of slides out of the front there. And of course, because you got your extractor on the bottom, this gun does eject out the bottom, which is why it's on the bottom and not on the side, like most guns would be. You can see the once the bolt's retracted to the rear, the ejector comes out and hits the top of the rim of the case, knocks it out the bottom. So it's quite simple really. A lot of people think it's a really complicated system. I mean, I suppose it is compared to most bolts. I mean, generally these do have a lot of parts compared to a lot of bolts. And there's a lot of little pieces to get lost in the field, so it's not always a good day. But you keep this thing well maintained and it'll always run for you, pretty much. So now I'm going to do a quick part of reassembly. Now you do have to keep this lube a sort of degree, of course. I mean, when you're not firing it, it's not really as vital, but just for pure preservation of parts, it's better to keep things lubed up. Now I have a slight problem with reassembling this sometimes, so I don't always know if it's correct, but the way I can reassemble it is by doing it on a side degree, like that, whilst holding it on the left side, seeing as it does slide over the top where the firing pin part is. It's quite stiff, seeing as this thing is quite oily. It makes life difficult for me. You have to keep that on the side, or it'll go flying. And there you go. Let's check that's a 9, and it's pretty much the bolt reassembled. So I probably won't do a tutorial on how to put that or reassemble it. I mean, I don't know how many people actually have non-functioning, or in the UK we call them deactivated. So just mainly you've got to keep the these parts oiled. And you can probably see the function if I move the ejector forward, like so. You might be able to see the striker sleeve. Now I don't know if it's actually supposed to, because I know it's not supposed to actually be on there, but you can see that slides out with this part here by pushing it. That's basically how that works. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe.